Hey, it's Nikki. Before we start the show, I wanted to invite you to download a free resource that I put together for you as the listener. This is my gift to you. You can get it right now. It is the 17 buying signals. Now, I wrote a whole book about buying signals, and I wanted to put it into a really simple format that you can have at your fingertips or in front of you whenever you want to. So I took out the 17 buying signals from the book, put them on a simple PDF, also gave you the kind of what to do when you get a buying signal, and explain what a buying signal is. So that PDF is available for you as a listener to go and download right now by going to yoursalesmaven.com/17. That's yoursalesmaven.com/17 so that you can start acting on these buying signals and closing more business. All right, when you're ready, let's start the show.
Are you ready to boost your confidence when selling so you're able to close more deals? Nikki Rausch will show you how to build a foundation of skills and a mindset that creates sales success without feeling pushy or salesy and without fear of rejection. She is a sales strategist and coach with more than 25 years of sales experience and is master certified in neuro-linguistic programming. This is a radically different approach to selling. It's a no sleaze, no slime, and no stress approach to building your business. This is Sales Maven. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch. I am your own personal sales maven, and I'm here to offer you tips, techniques, and strategies to master your sales conversations. Today's episode is all about the misunderstood sales strategies that are out there, and by misunderstanding this, how this is costing you business. So I'm super excited to dig into this content with you today and share some of these things. Hopefully, this will spur some thoughts for you on how to approach your sales conversations a little bit differently. And before we do that, I want to give a shout out to Faithann Fun, who left me a really, really sweet 5-star review and wrote a really nice review for me. So thank you so much. It starts out and it's the subject line or the tagline says, "Advice so good, I'm almost teary-eyed." That makes me so tickled. Thank you for this. And it says, "I found Nikki through a BNI webinar she gave on the selling staircase. Her approach to sales is a breath of fresh air. I've struggled with sales in our window cleaning business for years. I'm excited to try her techniques, and the podcast episodes are like little treats to help me get in the right mindset to sell." Thank you so much, Faithann. I really appreciate that. I'm super, super, super excited that you are able to implement and use these techniques. I know that you wrote a little bit more in your review and it got cut off. So I apologize for not reading the full review, but I'm so grateful that you chose to take time out of your day to write it and leave it for me. Thank you. Okay. Let's get into some of these misunderstood sales strategies. Some of these that you are familiar with. Some of them you might have heard me talk about before. Some of them you may disagree, and that's okay. I am going to give you my perspective on it and the ideas to hopefully spur maybe some reframe for you in your own mind, and hopefully some new approach to some of the things that you're doing when it comes to sales. So one of the first misunderstood sales strategies that I hear out there over and over again from business coaches, from sales coaches, from lots of my clients who have worked with other people in the past is they have been advised not to put pricing out there, not to put pricing on their website, not to put pricing when somebody asks about it. Don't give them the price. Instead, get the person on a live call with you. Here's why this is misunderstood. The intent behind it is good, right? The intent of get them on the call so that you can establish your value. That's all fine and good, except you might have heard me talk about this before. I actually have a whole podcast episode, which is called To List or Not List Pricing on Your Website. If you haven't listened to that episode, please do. This may give you a whole new awareness here. But people who are giving you this advice of, when somebody asks for price, tell them that you'll talk about it when you get on a call with them. No, that implies in some way that there's there's some reason that you have to justify your price. And if you don't have some kind of pricing on your website, if you don't put pricing out into the marketplace because you're afraid that people won't hire you if they see your price without you establishing your value, you are missing the boat. Oftentimes people won't call you. They won't get on a phone call with you. They won't initiate any kind of interaction with you because the first thing you're going to make them do is be uncomfortable and have to ask you about pricing. Whereas if you'd put it on your website, one, you're going to eliminate a lot of tire kickers, people who won't hire you, who won't pay your price, no matter what it is. And you're going to attract the people who are like, oh, here's somebody who really stands in their place of authority and credibility and talks about their price like they're not ashamed of it. They don't have to sell you on why you should pay them all this money. Like, this is the mindset of the person. Think about when you are in the position of being a client or prospect and you want to find out, like, can I hire this person, or does this person have something that I would value? And you go check out their website and you can't find pricing anywhere. It typically annoys you, but yet people are out there telling you not to put pricing on your website. This is a sales strategy that only works for you. It doesn't work for your client or your prospect. And that is a huge mistake because sales isn't about you. It's about the prospect. It's about the relationship. It's about making it really easy for people to get their needs met, solve their problem. It's not about trying to convince them of your value. So this is a real soapbox one for me, so I'm going to move on from it because I get really so frustrated around it. As a matter of fact, I had to end a call. I was in a group training not too long ago, and I love the people in the group and admire them in many ways. And there was advice being given to a group member who was actively, putting stuff out on social media, and people were DMing this person asking about the price of something. And the advice that was given, is don't give them your price. Tell them you got to get on a call with them. And I was like, oh my gosh. And the person kept saying, but nobody is responding to that. Yeah. Because it's annoying and it seems shady in some way. I ended up having to leave the call because I was trying really hard not to speak up about it. Okay, I really am going to move on. It drives me nuts. Okay, here's the other misunderstood sales strategy that you hear over and over again. Sales is in the follow-up. Now, here's why it's misunderstood. It's true. Sales is in the follow-up. There's nothing wrong with this statement. Although I will say that I have heard many people say that they teach sales and that they teach people this sales is in the follow-up. That isn't actually teaching people sales. That's just reiterating. That's just regurgitating a really common statement. That's actually not teaching anybody anything. And I kind of get annoyed when people say this over and over again because I always feel like, yeah, duh. We've all heard this a million times. But here's why this strategy is a little misunderstood is it isn't just about the follow-up. You can follow up with somebody 100 times and they can ignore you 100 times. If you're following up with people and you're getting no response, it's time for you to take a step back and look at your message. Because if your messaging is garbage or if it's uninteresting, if this person doesn't have a need, then it doesn't really matter how many times you follow up. You're still going to get crickets. So this idea of sales is in the follow-up. Okay, yes. And your messaging needs to be on point. Your messaging needs to be interesting. It needs to create curiosity. It needs to be about the person who's reading the message, not about how awesome you are and how amazing your product is or your service. That's just not interesting. So it doesn't really matter how many times you follow up with somebody if your messaging is off. So, take some time, invest in getting your messaging right, invest in learning how to create curiosity establish relationships, build rapport with people so that when you do follow up, you get responses. Otherwise, all you're doing is like shooting in the dark, and it just feels like a waste of time. So this is why that one's misunderstood. All right, here's the third one that drives me crazy too. It's this idea of, and this is a misunderstood, where people always say sales is a numbers game. And again, it is a numbers game, but it's misunderstood because it implies that, again, you should just reach out to as many people as you possibly can and do what I call a shotgun approach to selling, which is not a good use of time, money, energy. Sales, yes, it's a numbers game in that if you spend time focusing on targeting the right client, somebody who actually has a need or a want or a desire for what it is that you sell, and positioning it in a way that is interesting, that creates curiosity for them, well, that is a much better use of your time, your energy, frankly, and your money than going and, sending out a message, to everybody who you have a connection with on social media. Like that's not being like, it's not true to this idea of like sales is a numbers game. Like, okay, maybe you'll, message 5,000 people and you might have one or two people who maybe could be interested, but you just annoyed 1,000 people who are like, why are you sending me this message? This is so annoying. So this idea of like sales is a numbers game, be really careful about how you approach this. It's a numbers game in that you should absolutely be building your email list with ideal clients. Every time I talk to people about their email list when they're just starting out, and we all have done this, they'll be like, well, I have 100 people on my email list. Okay, how many of them are not friends and family? What? None? Then you don't have an email list. Like it's a numbers game, and you should be building your email list with people who are interested in your topic, in your offer, right? In what you do, not your mom and your aunt who think you walk on water and everything you send out is amazing. I'm not saying they can't be on your email list, but they don't count unless they're going to pay you money. They're typically not going to pay you money. So this idea of like, you can have as many people as you want on your email list, but again, if your email list is garbage, then sales being a numbers game isn't in your best interest. Like people who are like, I have 15,000 people on my email list. Really? How many of them open your emails? That's how many people are interested in what it is that you do. Build your email list. Yes, from a number standpoint, build it, but build it with ideal clients. Be strategic in who you're approaching, because just going out and adding people to your list, by the way, without their permission, because you're trying to make your list seem bigger, is such a waste of your time and energy. I cannot tell you how many times people add me to their email list because they've seen my email address somewhere, or they heard me on a podcast, or I don't know, they attended something that I put on, and then they add me to their email list, and I start getting these emails, and I'm like, I don't have any interest at all in your product or in your service. And so adding me to your email list, one, it's bad etiquette, frankly. And two, it doesn't count. I'm never going to buy from this person. So be really clear about this sales is a numbers game, and make sure that you're not just adding people because they're a number. Frankly, you shouldn't be treating people like they're just a number anyway. Like you should be building relationships. The people who are going to get your messages, the people who you're going to be reaching out to, we want them to be receptive to you. And that comes through building rapport, relationships, and treating people like they are a person and not a number. Okay. All right. Here's the next one. This idea of this misunderstood sales strategy is never take no for an answer. I feel like this is a very old like style or old approach to selling. I wish that it would go away, although I just heard it recently from somebody else who teaches sales, and they were saying like, never take no for an answer. And I'm like, cringing as I'm hearing this, because sometimes the answer is no. It's kind of like like we teach girls and we teach young women, no means no. And if somebody gives you a hard no, and somebody has taught you in sales, never take no for an answer, like it's so counterintuitive. Now, if you're surprised by the no, check it out and find out. Ask the question, may I ask? Is it okay to ask? Your reason for declining? Check in, but never take no for an answer is a very, again, the intent behind this sales strategy is to encourage you to be creative, to understand the objection, to overcome potentially the objection, to find out if there's some piece of information that's missing that would be useful to this person so they would be more inclined to want to say yes to you. But never take no for an answer. Oftentimes it's misunderstood because then people get aggressive or they get pushy or they get a little shaming. I don't know if you've ever been on the end of a salesperson who starts to make you feel less than in some way for declining to work with them. But does that ever make you want to buy from that person again? Like, I know for me, the answer is heck to the no. You never get my business when you treat me like a dollar sign or you're not respectful of my no answer. So this is a misunderstood approach to selling. I have a few more for you. The other one, this is misunderstood so often, is spend more money on marketing so that you'll close more business. Marketing and sales are two different things. Bringing leads into your business is not the same as closing business. I find that this one is very understood by people who have ever been in a sales position because they understand the difference between sales and marketing. Sometimes I think entrepreneurs who have not been in a corporate role, either in sales or marketing, they think it's the same thing, but it isn't. Marketing's job is to bring leads into your business. Sales' job is to close those leads. So you can spend as much money as you want on marketing. It doesn't always translate into sales unless you have a sales process in place or a sales person. Oftentimes, this is you, the listener. You're the sales team. You're the sales process. You're the sales person for your company. So you can spend as much money as you want, but if you don't know how to close the sale, then all those is just leads that are just sitting on your list that are probably not doing much for you. So there is a difference between sales and marketing. And I do a lot of marketing in my business. I invest quite a bit of money in marketing, but my sales are typically made from me actually selling to my list. Like, there's actually a sales approach, there's a sales strategy, there's a sales offer to my list. Like, I could be just building my list all day long in hopes that somebody would hire me, and it probably would happen every once in a while, but I'm actively selling to my leads. I'm not just getting leads in the door, I'm then selling to them. And you have to be doing that as well. Otherwise, you're missing out on working with some of your best clients, and they, more importantly, are missing out on the benefit of what they're going to get from hiring you, from working with you. So spend as much money as you want on marketing, but make sure that you are selling to those leads. Okay. Here's another one this might be a little bit of a soapbox one for me as well, that misunderstood is that people think because somebody has a background in business or marketing or branding that they can teach you how to sell. They can probably write good copy for you. They can maybe give you some advice around putting processes in place. They can craft some marketing campaigns for you, but it's not the same as teaching you how to sell. I hear this over and over again in the market. I hear, and Again, because I do go on a lot of podcasts, I get to, I listen to a lot of podcasts because I always listen before I go on as a guest. So I listen to a lot of the people that they bring on as guests. I hear this over and over again of people are like, so I'm a marketing and sales coach. And then when you listen to what it is that they're teaching marketing. They're not teaching sales. So be really clear when you're going to invest money in somebody, what is it that you really need them to help you do? If you need them to help you market, awesome. But if you need them to teach you how to sell, make sure you have somebody who has a sales background, who knows how to teach sales. It doesn't have to be me. There's tons of people out there that do this, but make sure that you understand what it is that you're getting. And I have yet to find a really good business coach, and I've had some really amazing business coaches that can really teach other people how to sell. They might be good at selling, but they often don't teach actually selling skills. They give lots of really great advice, and they have a plethora of knowledge until it comes to selling. So just that's a little soapbox one for me too. All right. Here's the last one, and then we're going to wrap up this episode. A very misunderstood concept, sales strategy, is focus on the pain points. I actually do cringe when I hear this all the time now. It's become this really common thing that people say, and there's nothing wrong with this actual sales strategy, like focusing on people's pain points. It makes sense, but here's where it often gets misunderstood, is that then people hear this, like I get this said back to me all the time, where people will hear somebody teach about, oh, I got to focus on my client's pain points. And then they use the phrase pain points in their marketing. They use it in their sales, like conversations. No, that's not what that concept is actually. That's not what you're supposed to do with the concept. So if you're focusing on people's pain points, you don't ever say to somebody, what's your pain point? No, that's not the intent of that particular sales strategy. It's to ask them questions of the things that are typically painful for them, but calling out the thing. So for instance, I wouldn't say, what are your pain points to somebody? I might say, do you know how to create curiosity when you're talking about your business? That oftentimes is a pain point for people. Or I might say, are you able to close or deliver a discovery call in 30 minutes or less? A pain point for people oftentimes is that they're spending 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours on a call with a prospective client. Like, no, but I don't say, what's your pain points when you're talking to prospective clients? I give the actual thing about time. Like, are you able to, get through a discovery call in 30 minutes or less, and identify if you're talking to an ideal client? So that's what that concept means. And this may seem really obvious to you. You might be thinking like, I can't believe Nikki's even talking about this, but I hear this said back to me all the time. And I see it in people's marketing where they're actually using the phrase pain points. No, that's not what that is intended for. So think about what really are the pain points of your client. Like, you can't use the phrase. You actually have to use, like, what is it? Is it a lack of confidence? Is it that they're struggling to, with their weight, or they're struggling with their health, or they're struggling with their sleep pattern, or I'm just making up stuff now. Those are pain points. Don't use this phrase, pain points. It sounds weird to a prospective client. It sounds salesy, frankly. And it sounds like you're out of touch in the conversation. So no more of this pain point stuff. You can phrase your questions better than this. All right. So I just wanted to comment on these. I come up with these ideas to do podcast episodes oftentimes as I am out in the market, as I am doing my business every day, and as I am in conversation with people, and as I'm listening to things that are being said. And I've been thinking about doing this one for a while, and I started writing down this list. And I was like, oh, I could probably do way more than these, but I'm just going to do 7. Originally, I was only going to let myself do 5, but I just couldn't not do 7. So I hope this was interesting to you. I hope this made you maybe take a step back and think, like, how am I approaching sales? How am I approaching the sales conversation? Am I trying to spend a bunch of money on marketing and I'm not doing a good enough job selling? So should I also be focused on selling? Like all of these things, like, am I talking to the right people? Do I have the right people on my team supporting the growth of my business? And am I really hitting on what is most important to my prospective ideal client? All right. So if you've been listening to the podcast, you know that 2021 for me is the year of the questions. I've been giving you questions to put kind of in your back pocket to have to ask in conversations. And I was thinking about one this morning about, this idea of pain point. What might you say instead? So here is how you might structure this question is, how often do you struggle with, and then insert the context? Not the word pain point, but the actual pain point. So how often do you struggle with closing sales? Or how often do you struggle with your sleep at night? Or how often do you struggle with managing a team member? How often do you struggle with having difficult conversations? Whatever it is that you teach, insert the context there. All right. Now, of course, there will be more training on these questions inside the Sales Maven Society. So if you're not yet a member of our group, come join us. What are you waiting for? This is the monthly membership program there that I have that has access to my training content, has access to me, has access to an amazing group of professionals. We would love to have you join us and be a part of the group. This is the place where you bring your questions and concerns. I provide answers and guidance to boost your confidence in all your sales situations and conversations. You can join the Sales Maven Society right now by going to salesmavensociety.com. This is a monthly membership. It's $147 a month. I have a special offer with a coupon code. You can join for your first month for only $47 when you enter the coupon code 47TRIAL. That's 47 TRIAL. We'd love to have you join us. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm so grateful you were here. If we haven't connected yet on social media, let's connect. Please connect with me on Instagram. You can find me under Sales Maven. Connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me Nikki Rausch. Or we have the Sales Maven business page on LinkedIn. However you like to connect, I would love to hear from you. What have been some of your takeaways from the podcast? What are you enjoying about the podcast? Anything you would like a topic that you would like for me to record an episode around, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.